G'day, Bomber fans. Well, I gave you a trade update a fortnight ago, but so much has been happening lately, I might have to come out with another one. Here is the 2nd August trade update. There's plenty to get through today. We've got some targets off the board now. Reed is staying with the Eagles, but we do have others that we are keen on. In fact, one from the same draft, which is a really interesting one to talk about. So let's get into it. All right, we start with Sam Draper, and I think it's now a matter of days until we hear his decision. His exit meeting is next Monday, I believe, and usually when free agents look to move away, especially unrestricted free agents who can do whatever they want, it is during the exit meetings that we hear about it. So think Silvagni, he had his exit meeting and told the club he'd be leaving. De Koning, Oscar Allen. So I think it might be quiet over the weekend, but next week when he has his exit meeting on Monday, I think that's when we're going to hear his decision, and I think he's leaning towards going. So we're hearing that people at the club are a bit resigned to the fact and planning for his departure. The Lions are the front runners, the Crows are in the mix as well, but yeah, if we're guessing, it would be that Sam Draper will be leaving the club as an unrestricted free agent, which would be not great. I mean, I want him to stay, and if he does go, by the way, it is not guaranteed that we get first round compensation. In fact, I've heard that the club are planning for Band 2 compensation, not because it will happen, but because it is so line ball, it is so 50-50, they just don't know. So yeah, Draper decision coming really, really soon. This is probably the last time we talk about it until we hear what he's doing, and it's leaning towards him going. We got some confirmed news. So the club yesterday announced that Dylan Shiel would be departing. He is out of contract. He's an unrestricted free agent. This is actually the first time he's fallen out of contract at Essendon since coming across on that massive deal from GWS. But yeah, a mutual decision from both the club and Shiel that he would leave. He's been delisted, meaning he can be picked up by anyone as a delisted free agent during that period, or either way, he's an unrestricted free agent if he's not delisted. I'd expect a club probably takes a punt on him, even just for a year, to see if they can get something out of him. Last year, GWS were keen, but he was contracted and a trade would have been a bit too hard. But yeah, Dylan Shiel will not be at Essendon in 2025. Jayden Laverde, so he is an unrestricted free agent like Dylan Shiel, and he is also going to be trying to exercise his free agency rights. He's going to be meeting with GWS soon. They're interested in him as a depth option in defence to replace some outgoing players. There's talk they could offer him a bit more security than us, 2 years instead of one. That's if we even give him one. Remember last year he tried to leave the club because he wanted more security, like Jake Stringer. They both wanted that extra year on their contract, and we didn't give it to them. Laverde stayed. He's now, I mean, I think if he's going to be meeting with the Giants, I'm sure other clubs will be talking to his management, given how cheap he will be. I think there's definitely something here. He could well be on the move this year, be at another club in 2026. Yeah, a bit to watch here. Tsatas. So I don't know if it's the club trying to play its hand a bit and boost his value, but there has been no talk that he will leave. The club are happy to persist with him and want to keep him on the list for next season. There's also, by the way, minimal interest out there for Tsatas. I think there's more interest in a player like Ben Hobbs than there is for Tsatas. So at this stage, I'd say he's probably on the list next year. I think if he was to leave, you'd either have to find a club really hungry for him, which doesn't seem to be the case, or he would be a bonus in a trade, which doesn't really happen much in the AFL. Player-for-player trades are really rare. I think back to the Duursma BZT deal where we bought through Duursma and gave away some late picks plus BZT. I think that's always possible with a player like Tsatas, that he's kind of thrown in on a deal. But again, it is so rare. I think it's likely he stays with us next year. Now, I did just mention Ben Hobbs. I think he's one to watch a bit in the next few weeks. He was left out of the team late in the year. He is out of contract. Had a little bit of interest last year from some Victorian clubs. This year, it will be easier to win him over. There's less value in a trade and he's out of contract. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him depart to a new club for the 2026 season. He's out of favour at the Dons and one that might be moved on to free up list spaces. Zak Merrett, I mean, it feels weird to even talk about this one because he is the captain of the club. He's come out multiple times and said he's staying and he's committed, but his name continues to be raised. I'm not 100% sure why. I don't think Merrett leaves. Clubs may approach him and he may listen to offers, but you'd have to convince both Essendon and Merrett if you wanted him to leave the club, and the odds are one of those parties will say no, probably both. So yeah, he's being talked about. Some are saying the Hawks could pounce. I don't think anything happens with Zak Merrett. Jack Silvagni. So the Bombers have met with Silvagni in the last month. Scott had him over to his home. Jack has recently told the Blues at his exit meeting that he will be leaving the club, but it is widely believed that the Bombers are no longer really in this race and that it's between Collingwood and the Western Bulldogs, and now even St Kilda actually. So it seems like the Dons have kind of lost interest a bit here with Silvagni. There's always the chance of recapturing it a bit, but with free agency, once a player decides, they can kind of just leave. So it's about a month until the free agency window opens. I doubt there there is much movement with the Bombers until then. Another free agent who we were keen on is Brandon Starcevich, but again, it looks like we might be out of this race. It is now said to be between Starcevich staying at Brisbane or leaving to West Coast. In fact, the Eagles are rumoured to be applying for a little assistance package where they don't lose free agency compensation for Oscar Allen if they bring in Starcevich, because usually picks get diluted if you lose a free agent and get compensation. A pick would get diluted if you also bring in another free agent. But I guess with the Eagles trying for that assistance package, it clearly shows they think they're a chance to land Starcevich. So it looks like he could be elsewhere, might stay at the Lions. He's got a finals campaign to worry about. I don't think he's thinking too much about his future right now. Zak Butters is not going to be moving this year. The theory going around was that if Port got Nasiah, Wanganeen, Millera, they would be more likely to entertain a trade. But with that falling through, there is no chance the Power get rid of him. He actually said as much, actually. He said he'd be at Port next year. I recently did a video about Ken Hinkley talking about how if a club brought him in, it would improve the chances of getting Butters next year when he's a free agent. And that is 100% live. Until he's signed a new contract, that next year move is live, but nothing's happening in 2025. Zane Duursma. So this is a new one and a really interesting one. So Cal Toomey reported on Gettable that clubs could be monitoring his situation after a frustrating 2025 season. He just isn't getting it going at North, and there's clear chatter around that, maybe he'd be open to a move. And if that was the case, Cal named the Bombers as the club who could be into him. It's an interesting one. There are a few things to happen here. You'd have to have Duursma decide he wants to go, then North decide they want to let him go, then both clubs agree to a fair trade, which for a top 5 pick is just probably not going to work. I don't think this happens. I think it's probably a bit too hard, but it would be fun to link up all the Duursmas, and I think there's plenty there with Zane Duursma. He just hasn't got it all together at North. Liam Ryan. So he has requested a trade away from West Coast. He wants to move. We are one of a few clubs keen on him. St Kilda appear to be leading the pack, so there was news going around today that they'd offer him a 3-year deal on good money, whereas it seemed like most other clubs are offering 2, maybe with a trigger. Ryan wants to play footy elsewhere. He believes he has a lot of footy left in him, but the Eagles have told him that he is a required member and won't be leaving. Of course, this can just be a way to drive value up, but as it stands, you've got a few things in the way before Essendon enter the mix. We've been keen on him this season. It just appears that other clubs are more interested, and it's widely believed he goes to St Kilda by the end of the trade period. Now, speaking of St Kilda, Marcus Windhager is out of contract and wants more than what St Kilda are offering, so they put a 2-year deal on the table for him, and if you combine that with his want to play more pure midfield minutes and not tag like he often does at the Saints, you've got a situation where clubs sniff out a gettable player, and that is why Victorian teams are coming. North apparently offered 5 years to him. I don't know if that's true. We've offered less, I believe, but are still keen. The big thing here is that Marcus wants to play for St Kilda next year. He doesn't want to move. He does, however, want more security and a better role in the team than what he currently has, so watch this one play out a bit in the coming weeks. Surely the Saints budge and give him that extra love if they can afford to buy all these players from other clubs. Malcolm Rosas Jr. is a player we've been linked to for about 3 years now. He's going to be on the move, I reckon. I think this is the year he finally leaves Gold Coast. This time round, though, there is a bit to get through because there are other clubs in the mix. Richmond are apparently super keen. They could well be the club that picks him up. But yeah, we're still keen on Malcolm Rosas Jr. as we are every year, just others ahead of us. And finally, on screen, we have the players in contract limbo. So these are the 12 out-of-contract players yet to be offered a new deal. And with exit meetings coming up, we are about to find out which ones are going forward with us and which ones aren't. So there's going to be an initial batch of delistings that usually happens. You've seen that already happen for some clubs. I reckon Alwyn Davey Jr., Oscar Smart, and Jai Menzie could be in that batch. You've also got Will Setterfield, who is yet to be offered a contract and battling that foot issue that he's been suffering from for a few years now. I'm not sure that he's safe either. Ben Hobbs I spoke of. I think Ben Hobbs is going to be waiting out the trade period if he isn't at a new club. I think there's going to be a few players that will be in contract limbo until the end of the trade period, so we have a bit more flexibility with our list management decisions. Shiel's gone. I think Pryor probably stays. Blackiston stays. I'm not sold on McMahon staying yet. Not my opinion, just what I think is going to happen. I think with our forward stocks, it is tough to justify signing another one on, but I'm leaning toward him staying too. John Ralph believes he will. Goldie might stay. There's genuinely a chance that he goes around again if Draper leaves, but it all depends on that. Yeah, all of these guys really are either 50-50 or gone. I think with Shiel gone, with Menzie, Smart, Davey probably going, Setterfield, Hobbs maybe. I think we're starting to see just how the list could take shape in the next few weeks. But that is that. That is another trade update. I think there are going to be, there's going to be a bit more to come, I think, in the next few weeks. These videos might be a bit more common than they have been throughout the year. Trade period coming up, draft coming up, lots coming up. The off-season is really where the Bombers shine, so I'll have lots out in the next few weeks. Cheers for watching, Bomber fans. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe to see more like it, and go Bombers.